Hello, welcome to Math Defined. My name is Susie Costanza, and today we're going to be exploring powers and exponents. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's word is the word power, and we're going to be looking at the definition of power. We're going to be looking at some important aspects to that word power. We're going to be looking at some examples, and we're going to also be looking at some non-examples. Okay, so we're going to start off with the textbook definition of what a power is. So a textbook definition would be that a power is the product of repeated factors. Or we could also say that it is the answer to a multiplication problem where the base is being repeatedly multiplied to itself as determined by the exponent. So let's go ahead and look at the box that's labeled important. And what we need to really understand about a power is that a power is made up of two components. A power has to have both a base and an exponent. And I've given you an example here. Let's go ahead and look at 3 to the second power. So we read a power from left to right. So we would start with the 3 and we would say 3 to the second power. The 3, if you'll look at it, is a little bit larger than the 2. So the larger of the two numbers is the base, and the 2 is the exponent. And if you notice, it's a little bit smaller than the 3, and it's shifted up and to the right of the 3. So this is an example of a power. And again, we read it from left to right, 3 to the second power. Now, if I need to find out, well, what does 3 to the second power mean? Or what does it equal? Then let's go ahead and take that power and let's put that as our first example. So we have 3 to the second power, and if I go back and I look at what my definition says that a power is the answer to a multiplication problem. So I know that I'm going to be multiplying, and it's where the base is being repeatedly multiplied to itself. So since my base is a 3, the 3 is going to get multiplied to itself the number of times that the exponent says. So since my exponent is a 2, that means that my 3 is going to get multiplied to itself 2 times. And then I just do the math, 3 times 3, and that gives me 9. And that's all there is to it. So let's look at another example. We have another power, and again we read it from left to right, starting with the base, so 2 to the 4th power. So in order to find out what the value of 2 to the 4th power is, we're going to take that base of 2 and we're going to multiply it 4 times. So we're going to start with 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 gives me 16. So the value of 2 to the 4th power is 16. My last example is more of a pre-algebra example. So instead of having a number for a base, we're going to have a letter or a variable for a base instead. So I'm going to have x to the 3rd power. So do you notice that I read it the same way from left to right, starting with the base? X is the base, 3 is the exponent, and if I wanted to find out what the value of x was, I would need to multiply x to itself 3 times. Okay? So now we're going to go on and look at some non-examples. And what I'm going to use for my non-examples are my same 2 powers that I use for my examples. I'm going to be using 3 to the 2nd power and 2 to the 4th power. And I'm going to use that so that you can easily see the most common mistake that people make when they're trying to find out the value of powers. So I'm going to look at 3 to the 2nd power. Again, it's still a power. 3 is still the base. 2 is still the exponent. But the biggest mistake that people make is that instead of taking that base of 3 and multiplying it to itself, they take the base and then they multiply it to the exponent. So if I do that, that's going to give me 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. But we already know from looking at the examples, the value of 3 to the 2nd power is not 6, it's 9. So that's the mistake that people make. They multiply the base to the exponent instead of multiplying the base to itself the number of times that the exponent tells it to. So let's go ahead and look at 2 to the 4th power. And the most common mistake again is people multiply the base to the exponent. So that's 2 times 4, and we know that that's 8, but we know from looking at the examples that 2 to the 4th power doesn't equal 8. It's really supposed to equal 16. So again, the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this is to never multiply the base to the exponent. All right, let's go ahead and practice some on your own. I know you can do this. So we're going to look at our first power. Remember, we read powers from left to right, starting with the base. So this is 2 to the third power. Go ahead and find the value of 2 to the third power on your own. Pause your video if you need to. All right, so if you remembered that to find the value of a power, you have to multiply the base to itself the number of times the exponent says. That means that the base of 2 is going to get multiplied to itself 3 times. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. Good job. All right, let's do another one. This one is 3 to the fourth power. Go ahead and pause your video. All right, hopefully you remembered not to multiply 3 times 4. That's the common mistake. Go ahead and take that base of 3 and multiply it to itself 4 times. And when you multiplied that, you would get 81. Hopefully you remembered that mental math shortcut to take that first pair of 3's, 3 times 3 is 9, the last pair of 3's, 3 times 3 is 9, and you could have multiplied 9 times 9 to get 81. It's a little math trick. It makes it a little bit easier. All right, one last example. 7 to the second power. Pause your video. All right, I'm sure by now that you knew to take that base of 7 and multiply it to itself 2 times. 7 times 7 is going to give me 49. All right, we're going to wrap up this video with a vocabulary review. Go ahead and fill in that blank. And yes, you know, a power is a product of repeated factors. And one more time, a power must have a base and an exponent. Here's my example of 7 to the second power. Do you remember which is the base and which is the exponent? If you said that 7 was the base and 2 was the exponent, you were exactly correct. So I hope that this video helps you to better understand what a power is. If you like this video, please make sure that you click the thumbs up button, and please subscribe and click on that notification symbol so that you'll know when more of my videos get posted. Thanks for watching.